Good Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. We have the truth of the day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you've been part of my conversation with recording artist and producer Kevin Ross discussing his musical journey. He'll be in Jackson, Mississippi on April the 15th. Enjoy today's program. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In national news, gunman opens fire on Brooklyn subway, at least 10 shot. A gunman in a construction vest donned a gas mask, set off a smoke canister on a rush-hour subway train, and shot at least 10 people Tuesday morning, authorities said. The shooter was at large after leaving wounded commuters bleeding on a Brooklyn platform while others ran screaming. 5 people were in critical condition but expected to live. At least 16 in all were injured in some way in the attack that began on a subway train that pulled into the 36th Street station in the borough's Sunset Park neighborhood. The police commissioner said the attack was not being investigated as terrorism, but that she was not ruling out anything. FBI agents and members of the Joint Terrorism Task Force surveyed nearby businesses, interviewing witnesses, and searching for surveillance footage. Police helicopters hovered overhead for hours as authorities searched for the shooter, who has not been identified at the time of this report. The motive remains unknown. Investigators recovered a firearm at the scene, along with multiple smoke devices and other items they were analyzing, 2 law enforcement officials said. The attack unnerved a city on guard about a rise in gun violence and the ever-present threat of terrorism. It left some New Yorkers jittery after riding the nation's busiest subway system and prompted officials to increase policing at transportation hubs from Philadelphia to Connecticut. One rider's video, shot through a closed door between subway cars, shows a person in a hooded sweatshirt raising an arm and pointing at something, possibly the door to a conductor's booth, as 5 bangs sound. In another video, smoke and people pour out of a subway car and wails erupt as passengers run for an exit while a few others limp off the train. One falls to the platform. Other videos and photos from the scene show people tending to bloody passengers lying on the platform, some amid what appear to be small puddles of blood, and another person on the floor of a subway car. Fire and police officials were investigating reports that there had been an explosion, but at a press conference just after noon, there were no such known explosive devices found. Multiple smoke devices were found on the scene, said one spokesperson. In more national news, COVID-19 and overdoses push U.S. to highest death toll ever. 2021 was the deadliest year in U.S. history, and new data and research are offering more insights into how it got that bad. The main reason for the increase in deaths? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's office says COVID-19 is the answer. The agency this month quietly updated its provisional death tally. It showed there were 3 million deaths last year, or about 80,000 more than 2020's record-setting total. Early last year, some experts were optimistic that 2021 would not be as bad as the first year of the pandemic, partly because effective COVID-19 vaccines had finally become available. COVID-19 deaths rose in 2021 to more than 415,000, up from 351,000 the year before, as new coronavirus variants emerged and an unexpectedly large number of Americans refused to get vaccinated or were hesitant to wear masks. The coronavirus is not solely to blame, says the Associated Press. Preliminary CDC data also shows the crude death rate for cancer rose slightly, and rates continue to increase for diabetes, chronic liver disease, and stroke. Drug overdose deaths also continue to rise, but provisional data through October suggests the nation is on track to see at least 105,000 overdose deaths in 2021, up from 93,000 the year before. In more national news, Biden waiving ethanol rule in bid to lower gasoline prices. With inflation at a 40-year high, President Joe Biden headed to corn-rich Iowa on Tuesday with a modest step aiming to trim gasoline prices by about $0.10 a gallon by waiving rules limiting ethanol blending. His announcement reflects the ways Biden is deploying almost every weapon in his bureaucratic arsenal to ease price pressures, yet the impact appears to be limited and uncertain. Inflation has only accelerated in recent months instead of fading as Biden once promised it would after the recovery from the coronavirus recession following last year's $1.9 trillion relief package. Tuesday's government report that consumer prices jumped 8.5% in March from a year ago, the worst reading since December 1981, only deepened Biden's challenge in defending Democrats ahead of this year's midterm elections. More than half the increase came from higher gas prices, which spiked in part because of Russia's war in Ukraine, but costs also jumped for housing, food, and other items. And finally, in entertainment news, Rihanna talks fashion and motherhood as due date approaches. Timekeeping isn't Rihanna's strong suit, and that goes for the pregnancy she's been sharing with the world as well. Planning, I wouldn't say planning, she told Vogue about her upcoming motherhood, but certainly not planning against it. I don't know when I ovulate or any of that type of stuff. We just had fun, and then it was just there on the test. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's our time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, take it away.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Make an active effort to reconnect. Our lives are immeasurably enriched as we connect with each other. The human touch is a powerful healing force. Even when you cannot physically touch, make an effort to reach out by email, text, phone, Zoom, Skype, or FaceTime. Many aspects of daily life serve only to divide us from one another. In order to counteract these circumstances, you must keep in contact with people about whom you care. This guarantees they understand the vital role they play in your life journey. The resulting intimacy is a soul-soothing reminder you are never alone. Today, be proactive as you connect with friends and family. And remember to enjoy the day.
We are part of my conversation coming up with Kevin Ross in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Recording artist and producer Kevin Ross stopped by Conversations Live, the radio show, before his trip to Mississippi as part of his tour with Keum and Babyface to discuss his musical journey. Here's a bit of our conversation.
First of all, it's hard to believe we're talking about April already, right? I mean,
yeah.
This year is really flying by, but you have quite the lineup coming up for spring and summer. What has it been like for you, Kevin, to be able to do what you love and to see the response from your fans?
You know what? It's no greater feeling, to be honest, than to, really get that response. When you're in the studio and you're working, you're only hoping that, people feel the same way that you do as you're creating it. And the most important thing is for us to, create moments so that, when people first hear a song by somebody that they really like, they remember exactly where they were, what they were eating, who they were with, all that stuff that matters in the sense of nostalgia. So, I'm glad that I'm serving my purpose.
Yeah, definitely doing that. And as I mentioned, you have several slashes behind your name. People know you as a singer, a songwriter, producer. Have you always known that in some form or fashion, Kevin, that music was going to be how people got to know you?
For me to say that, I think it kind of clicked for me probably about 16, but it wasn't really early. How some people are kind of like prodigies and they sang in church when they was 3 years old and stuff like that. So that wasn't me. I loved music for a long time, but it didn't necessarily hit me to say, you know what, this is something that I really want to do for the rest of my life until I was well into my teenage years.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll have you guys on tomorrow with more news. Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.